Hey guys, welcome to another Monday morning tennis rant in 2024. Last week, I said that was going to be my last rant of the season, but I'm adding another one because there are a few things that I want to share my opinion on. So, I was scrolling on Instagram yesterday and I saw a clip of Billie Jean King talking about some changes that she would like to see in the game of tennis. She suggested that players wore their name on the back of their shirt like they do in other sports, and she suggested that the scoring system is too complicated for fans. 15 love, 30 love is no good. We got to change it to 1, 2, 3. And I found this very interesting, so I put up a question in the stories on Instagram accompanied with this clip, whether people think that these are good suggestions or not. And I received a ton of responses. I didn't think that I was going to receive so many heated responses, and people, tennis fans, are very resistant to changes. And I am in that camp too. I am resistant to changes in the game of tennis because I love the game of tennis so much. However, I will say that I cannot make a general statement and say changes are always bad, because there have been some great changes done to the game of tennis. Let me just give you two examples. So, the invention of the tiebreak, a fantastic change, because sets used to go on forever. Used to be 24, 22, 6-2, 6-3 would be a score in a Grand Slam tournament. So they got rid of that. They put in the tiebreak, and it has been a great change. Now they started doing this in fifth sets as well, and I'm okay with that. You know, I love long matches, but you know, I think shortening a match is not necessarily a bad idea. Another change that I like a lot, and this is something that has to do with technique, is the fact that they changed the rule on the serve. You weren't allowed to leave the ground. You had to have 1 foot on the ground back in the day. This is going back to the wooden racket era. So that rule change, allowing players to lift both feet off the ground on the serve, has increased the power on the serve tremendously, because now players get something what I call vertical momentum. They get energy going upwards on the serve, so that's a great change. And I'm going to add another change, and this one might be controversial. Some people might disagree, but in my opinion, I like the fact that they slow down the courts, okay? A lot of you guys are going to say, Nick, what are you talking about? You probably said you like fast courts. It's true. I want there to be a variety of court surfaces, fast, slow, but I do think that the serve and volley era was a tad boring. I'm not the biggest fan of serve and volley. I find baseline tennis more entertaining. I enjoy clay court tennis very much, so I don't mind the fact that they slowed the game down. Now, of course, the balls, that's a whole another subject for another video. Guys are possibly getting some injuries from the balls because they're too dead and too slow. That's not good, but I am in favor of the game being slowed down, because I think a game that's too fast, when the rallies are too short, it gets boring. So that's a change that I like. So I think changes are good for the game of tennis, but I think some things should be left untouched. Now, going back to the Billie Jean King suggestions, I don't think you need names on the back of their jerseys, because the greatest thing that tennis has going for it is the superstar players. Let me explain it this way. If you go to a future tournament, the level of tennis is absolutely insane. If you go to a Division I college match, the level of tennis is incredibly strong. If you go to Germany, where I used to live, and you watch like a Bundesliga match, the level of tennis is absolutely spectacular. But are there a lot of people watching in the stands? Nope. And I played in those circumstances. I played Division I college against top schools. We played Tennessee, we played at Georgia, we played Mississippi State, we played Ohio State, Auburn, on and on, top D1 schools. Was there ever anybody watching? Nope. Maybe 10, 20 people. I played second Bundesliga. On my team, we had 3 top 200 players. We had one guy from France that in that season reached the second round of the French Open. So we had a stacked team. And we had some people watching from the club, maybe 100 people on a good day, but basically no crowd. But the level of tennis, absolutely insane how good it was. And this brings me to the point of who draws the big crowds, and that is the superstar players. So I think that's one of the reasons why doubles is struggling right now, because they're lacking that superstar team. We had the Jensen brothers, we had the Bryan brothers back in the day, but nowadays I think partially due to the teams switching their partners so frequently, we don't have a superstar doubles team, and I think the game of doubles is suffering tremendously from the lack of superstar players. Luckily, we have amazing superstars at the top of the game right now with Sinner and Alcaraz, but just imagine if Sinner and Alcaraz were not there. We had Zverev, Medvedev, and Fritz at the top of the game. Nothing against those guys. These are phenomenal players, and I'm a huge Medvedev fan, but we would be worried about the future of the tennis if we didn't have Sinner and Alcaraz, who are superstar players, who have that superstar status. You see what's going on in Italy, the power that Yannick Sinner has to ignite the passion of tennis throughout a whole nation. That's what draws tennis. We can also say that maybe the WTA is lacking superstar players. No offense against Sabalenka, Swiatek, Rybakina, Pegula, Coco Gauff. I'm a huge fan of the WTA. I enjoy watching those players compete, but it is clear that if you compare them to Navratilova, Chris Evert, Monica Seles, Steffi Graf, Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova, are they of that same caliber as far as superstar status? I don't think so. Not quite. I think in the game of tennis, the most important draw is the superstar status of a player. Now, how do you get a player to become a superstar? Well, the player needs to have special qualities, not only in their game of play, but also in their personality. And this leads me to something great that I watched yesterday, and it is exactly what I'm talking about. It's that superstar status of a player, and that's Del Potro, who is suffering right now. He's suffering from a knee injury. He said that life is not fun right now because he can't walk upstairs, he can't even drive a car. I've heard that Del Potro opened up a tennis academy in Boynton Beach, Florida, where I live. So for anyone looking for an academy in Florida, look up Delpo's Academy in Boynton Beach. I think you can find out more information if you go on the internet. But Delpo, I don't know much about him other than what I'm hearing. He seems like the nicest guy ever. And it's just sad to see the guy suffering from the injuries. It just shows you that tennis destroys the body. Rafa, in a very similar situation, the body completely destroyed from tennis. So that's sad, but what's not sad, what's uplifting is the support that he received at the farewell match this week against Djokovic in Argentina. The stadium was absolutely packed. And again, Djokovic, you might hate him, but there's a lot of evidence that this guy has a good heart, okay? I talked many times that he helps players out in Serbia. He helped Medvedev financially. He bought Krajinovic an apartment. That's what I heard. And he flew all the way to Argentina to play this match against Delpo. And he not only did that, but he also let Delpo win. Delpo won in straight sets. Djokovic was hitting pretty much every ball to Delpo because Delpo can't move. And Delpo was able to hit those unbelievable forehands that he's famous for. So If you saw the crowd excitement, if you saw the comments on Instagram, people love Delpo. He is one of those superstar players. And that's what tennis is all about. It doesn't need any huge changes because the guys that we all love are the ones who grow the game of tennis. Those are the ones that create all the excitement where everybody tunes in. One thing that is worrying me a little bit is the changes to coaching at the professional level. And of course, if you interview actual coaches who are on tour, they're going to be in favor of it, okay? So they are not a good source of information regarding this subject. They're usually going to say allowing coaching is going to benefit tennis because it's going to make tennis better. And this is quite a complex subject that I've talked about in previous videos. And coaching is incredibly important, okay? There's no arguing about that. Whether we're talking about the development stage, when somebody goes up in the junior level, very important. Coaching is incredibly important, for example, in the off season right now, where players might be tinkering with their technique, they might be tinkering with their equipment, go to Tennis Nerd and find out all the changes that are happening right now with player equipment. That's where a coach can help tremendously. Before the match, after the match, a coach can have an impact. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But how about inside of the match? Is it positive for the player to be coached inside of the match? In my opinion, no. Why? Because tennis is an intuitive game where players have to rely on their intuition during points. Why is that? Well, because tennis at all levels, but especially at the highest level, is a game that's extremely unpredictable, and it's also incredibly quick, where conscious thoughts are impossible to execute. You are forced to rely on your intuition and call off your full repertoire of strokes automatically. That is tennis, and there's no arguing about that. Now, there are certain things that you can do prior to the point where a coach could be helpful. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Maybe it's adjusting your return positioning, maybe it's where you're serving, how you're serving, maybe it's your general game plan. Are you maybe playing too defensive, you're playing too aggressive? A coach can help with that, and there's no doubt that that's something that's been always done in tennis and will continue to be done by coaches, and that's fine. But if you take it to the extreme and the coach is involved too much, their instructions are too detailed, I think this can harm the player, because the player then isn't relying on their own intuition so much, and they're relying on their coach. And I think history has shown that the greatest players have not done that. They are really great at figuring it out on their own. And if you ask players on tour, some of the interviews that I read, most players are against coaching and coaches are for coaching. So that should tell you something. So I think this is one of the worst trends in the game of tennis, allowing the coaching on tour. I think this will not improve the game. And as I discussed in some other videos, one player that could possibly be playing better if he didn't rely on coaching so much is Carlos Alcaraz. There's one example where I think it's actually doing him harm, the fact that he is so involved with his box at all times. I think Sinner does it to a much lesser degree and is actually performing a lot better, despite the fact that Alcaraz has more Grand Slams than Sinner. And we'll have to see which one of those guys is going to perform better. But again, this, what I'm saying, is not against coaching. What I'm saying is for the game of tennis. And this whole putting the coach on a pedestal that's been happening in recent times, I don't understand it at all. I don't get it. The coach, of course, is important, but so is the player. And I think you make the player worse if the coach gets too involved. Now, let me reiterate, I'm talking about inside the match. I'm not talking about the talk the coach is going to have with the player before the match or after the match, or the preparation for the tournament, or maybe the work that's done after a tournament, whether it's a good tournament or a bad tournament. That's where coaching is super important. I'm specifically talking inside of a match, and unfortunately this is a change in the game of tennis that I don't approve of. Now, I want to talk about one more thing, and I'm sure you heard the news that Iga was suspended for a month, somewhat similar to Sinner. And look, this is going to sound so dumb, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a pharmacist, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to speak on the intricacies of this other than what I read and regurgitating that information. But I can tell you one thing that worries me, because I'm a guy that lives the natural life, okay? I've been a vegan for 11 years. For you guys that don't know, I don't take anything, all right? I try to stay away from all substances, okay? And it is mind-boggling to me how much stuff players are intaking. I'm not going to go into detail, but I heard stories of prescription medication on tour. It worries me, okay? It's not good. I cannot understand that players are taking so much stuff that's legal, okay, with the prescription. That's what worries me, the legal stuff. And let's not talk about the illegal stuff. But again, it appears that Iga, just like Sinner, is innocent. And I believe what I'm reading and comparing cases, to my understanding, it's a tricky thing because every case is going to be different. And Iga's case is completely different to the Halep case. You can't compare that. And it's, of course, completely different to the Sinner case. And look, it's not good for the game of tennis because people that don't familiarize themselves with the case will just say they're all doping. I'll never forget sitting next to a guy on a plane. This is going back like 15 years, okay? And this guy just kept rattling on and on how everybody is doped up to the gills. Federer is doping, Nadal is doping. And this was the most nightmarish plane ride of my life because I had to listen to this gibberish. Because, look, I believe that the sport is clean, okay? Call me naive, but I believe that my favorite players, Sampras, Rafa, Ivanisevic, I believe that they're clean. What can I tell you? Call me naive. This is what I think, and it hurts the sport a lot if the players at the top of the game are in fact not clean. And I think what I said in the beginning, I don't understand why players are risking this. In the Sinner case is different, but again, the trainer and the fitness coach that were fired, why were they so careless of spraying the stuff that has a warning label on it and then giving Sinner a massage? How can you be so careless? It makes no sense. In Iga's case, you have sleeping problems. You don't need a pill for that. Listen, you're going to fall asleep. You're going to fall asleep, okay? You don't need a pill. Be careful. Why are you risking it? Don't risk it. Don't take anything. I know this is advice coming from someone that believes in a natural way of life, and I understand that these players are at the absolute top of human possibilities regarding tennis. These are the top of the top, and they want to maximize their game. They want to get that extra 1%, and I understand that that extra 1% sometimes involves taking stuff. But in my opinion, I wish that everybody wouldn't take anything other than the natural ways to increase performance, and not stuff that's produced in a lab somewhere. So anyways, let me know what you think in the comments. I do want to let you know that I'm running a Black Friday sale. All right, today is Cyber Monday. It's going to end tonight at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, and all my courses and my premium membership is on sale. If you are interested DM me on Instagram. Make sure you follow me as well. And when you DM me, tell me which course you're interested in. I'm going to give you a coupon code. And I have a brand new course that I worked on for a long, long time called The Intuitive Tennis Mind. I've been working on this for a long time, and it's a great course helping players with their mental game. This course, including all others, are 50% off right now. So if interested, send me a DM on Instagram. I'll send you the coupon code. And I will see you guys in a Monday morning rant, probably in 2025, unless I have stuff on my mind like I did today. All right, take care, guys.